Yeah.
Okay, I'll just give you a little background on me. I have taught in public schools in North Carolina, middle school, health and PE, and I've taught in a private all-girls Catholic school in Princeton, New Jersey, where I did 6th through 12th grade wellness, health, and PE. I laugh because PE was never my main focus. It's just the department I'm in. I've taught undergraduate level classes for health, and then I moved to Nashville and had children and didn't work for 5 years, and then I got a job at a local charter school. And I will say that my teaching experiences up to the charter school were very good. My public school position in North Carolina, we were a blue ribbon school. We showed growth every year. It was 90-something% every year, and then we had to work, because if you're already making a 93% and you have to show growth at 94, it's a lot of intense, it's just a lot of work, and everyone felt it, because the time the testing comes around, what do you do so that you can show your growth, because you don't want to lose that status at all. And so it was a lot of pressure around that. And granted, we were at a school that was amazing. It was built for 800, but we had 1,600 students, and it was just. But we managed to do it in the gym. I'll give you, we had 100 children in the gym at one time and 5 teachers. And we were a demonstration center for the state. It was a phenomenal, we made do. We were really creative in figuring out how to make it work. In New Jersey, when I worked there, it was my first experience in a private school going, I cannot believe, okay, basically anything that you want, you can get, and the students are behind you, and the parents are behind you for the most part, and it was just a great experience. And then my charter school experience here was much different. In all the other jobs I've had, you've had to wear multiple hats just because of the role that you play, and everyone has to fill, especially the smaller the school, you have different jobs that you have to do. In the charter school, we had multiple hats and long hours. I was at work from 7 to 5, and it was really intense. We had tutoring that you had to help do for not only, you had 45 minutes of planning for the whole day, and I had 8 classes a day, plus tutoring, plus my homeroom. And you had children. My school, it was 96% free and reduced lunch, so it was high poverty. 80% English was a second language. We had a lot of refugees from Egypt, a lot of Hispanic children, a lot of children that were just, their life stories are just, it's unfair. And school became their safe space, and when school is their safe space, that's where all the emotions come out, because they can't do it anywhere else. So every day it was just a really heavy, it was hard work. It was really hard work. You could see the value in the work that you did, because you could see it almost instantly. Unlike any other job, you find out from students on Facebook, oh yes, okay, great, right? This was a more instant, these kids need a lot of help, and we have a huge problem as a society with poverty. And so I kept wrapping trying to figure out how to do it. So my children started at Abentra the same year I started at the charter school. And you talk about polar opposite ways of interacting with children. The charter school, which they're doing a great job for the work that they're doing, I have to say, because it's really hard work. It's not sustainable work at all. It's not sustainable work because I was the only mother on staff. Most everyone is a Teach for America. They're in there for their 2 years and then they're out. So the staff turnover was really, I turned over. I mean, it moved really quick because you can't sustain that kind of work because you don't have enough time to do your work at work. When you have 45 minutes of planning, but in those 45 minutes you're dealing with some social, emotional something that's going on with a student and trying to get those people connected to the people that they need at that moment. And so you come home and you do all of your work and your planning, and if I hadn't been a veteran teacher, I don't even know how one would sleep because you really have to come prepared. And it was very much about, it's a power over environment where you tell the students what to do, when to do it, how to stand, your voices are off. There's no intrinsic motivation. It's telling them you're going to do this and this is how you're going to do it, because the goal is you're going to graduate from high school and you're going to get accepted, all of you are going to get accepted into a 4-year college university. That was the mission statement which is, they've managed to do it in the last few years. But my concern is that these children they're going to get to college and they're going to drop out because no one's going to care if they continue to do this work or not. The professor's not going to be like, now did you do it? No, I mean, it's not going to happen. So I felt like I started to have this like internal conflict of the way that they were doing the work, because it was about control. If students got in trouble, then they got sent to another room. Recess was taken away from them, and those were the children that needed to move the most. And I just felt like it wasn't going to set them up for success in life beyond school. And you have to look at the students from the whole perspective, and you can't. And in charter schools, it's all that you have to show growth, or you don't exist as a school. So it was a lot. I don't know how many tests we would take. A lot of practice tests, so that they learned how to take a test. And my school that I was in got the #1 amount of growth for the entire state in math that year. But when you're the lowest performing school, you can grow a whole lot. Not like my school in North Carolina that was 93, trying to get to 94. They're going to show the smallest amount of growth. So, they use that as marketing, which is brilliant, but that's not the true picture. So when you start looking at schools and you're looking at growth, you're like, ooh, where were they to begin with? And I would see my children, I would come home like this and not want to interact with my own children because I was just done for the day dealing with social and emotional work, which is all your work is as a parent. They would come home and it was social and emotional work. I'm like, I can't do this. So I left that job after a year and a half. I mean, I was there for a year, and I was like, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to. They're like, great, you can do all of that. I'm like, oh, okay. So I came back, and even with all of my requests, it still wasn't the right fit. And I was at the same time learning about what Lily and Josephine were doing at school. And seeing, like, I would come in, I don't think I was able to observe. I may have observed once that year because I was at work. I was busy all the time. And just really kind of confused because I signed them up for Montessori without really knowing anything about Montessori. I mean, I had friends who had done really great research, and I valued their research, and I was like, well, if it's good for them, I'm sure it's going to be great for my children. And I had a stepfather who had his child in Montessori, and he's like, your kids are going to thrive there. Okay, we'll try this out. And I would see them come home. I would see, their little cards of what they did that day, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Right now, I don't really have any idea. really, I mean, I really didn't have any idea about Montessori at all until I quit my job. And I was like, how can you have children of different ages be in one classroom, like 3 to 6, that's huge, right? How can you have them in one classroom and everyone is moving forward? I was in a classroom, we had the same ages, lots of different abilities, and we could only go as fast as the lowest person. And it's like, group instruction doesn't work. Well, so then I started like, I don't know, how do I figure this out? I don't know what this looks like at all. So here I am on the phone. Hey, can I come observe? And I observed every single level of this school, and I really wanted to see middle school because that was my only basis of comparison. EC, I don't know what that looks like, right? I only know my children's age only because they're my age. I don't know anything that way, but I went and saw EC, I saw LE, and I have to say, honestly, like I wasn't truly bought into the whole Montessori thing until after Lily finished her second year, so her first year in LE when she finished it, and she brought home her binder and all of her little journals, and I'm flipping through it, and I'm like, but you did that? And you did what? And I was like, whoa, because before I even contemplated, okay, maybe we'll homeschool. I don't know. We came through every possible situation of what we could do, and seeing her binder, I was like, wow, like this is impressive, right? So that was when I really was sold. Okay, this is great for my kids. What are they doing? So I went and observed. I looked at EC, I looked at LE, and I had kind of a basic idea of what was going on because my own children were there. Looked at ME and was like, oh wow, okay, I see how this is happening. They're moving from independent work to they're starting to do small group instruction. Okay, I can see how that, okay, I'm looking at that. I go to UE, I was blown away by UE going, this is 5th and 6th grade? My school started in 5th grade, the charter school, and I'm like, they're doing that? And what? I was just, because that was my basis of comparison, right? And then I made it to middle school and watched an amazing, it wasn't even it was a lesson. There was a lesson. But it was the children who were just talking about, they had papers that they had written, and they were discussing their papers from the different perspectives, and we're being able to pull it into, the author and how, and then they were comparing different texts and how it all related, and I'm going, did I even do that in college? I don't even think I did. I was just really blown away, and I was like, okay, my kids are going to stay at this school for as long as they can. As long as we can do it. And then for us, it was like every year we have to reevaluate. Can we do this? Is this possible? And my husband, by the way, was like, he was sold on day one. He was like, we're doing it. Me, not so much. I had to take this process and this journey to figure it out. And, just seeing that and going through that process, it was like, I want to see how long I can keep them here, because if they can think critically in middle school and they've already learned how to work independently and have that intrinsic motivation before you get to a group setting, I'm just paying for it in the front end, because they're going to go to college, or maybe they won't. They're going to go to college, and I'm not going to have to worry about if they're going to do it or not, and I'm not going to be the one going, did you do the work? Because that's what those kids in the charter school are going to have. They're going to need someone help them through that, and my kids aren't. And I think I can't give them that kind of gift myself as a parent. You need to have positive role models in the classroom that are doing it as well. And so you can see those things. And so I've decided, I'm going to learn more and more about Montessori. And then it was like a year and a half. Sherry, can I please work here? please. I think this is, I really would want to be here. Like, I don't know. And always really upfront, I don't know anything about it, but I want to learn about it because whatever is being done here is being done the way that I think it should be done. And I don't know, okay, so anyway, I got a job. And then I'm reading books, okay, so people are giving me books to read. And last summer, before I even started the job, I'm reading the From Childhood to Adolescence from Maria Montessori, and I'm reading it and I'm going, I always thought it was lazy parenting. Like, for me, I thought I was a lazy parent because I'm like, no, you can do that. I'm not gonna do that. I'm like, I'm like Maria Montessori. No, you don't do anything for your child that they can do for themselves, right? They need to have this information. So the more and more I'm learning, the more I'm realizing, like, this is exactly where kids need to go. And of course, the way that my brain works is like, how can we replicate this in other schools? And how can all those children that I taught, they're not gonna get that. Can you see why I quit? I would go home every day like this going, I have to solve this problem. And it's a huge problem. And I don't know, I have to learn. I'm here to learn. I need to figure out what is it that they do and how you can take that back to a public school. But the way public schools are set up now, it would never work. There's too much red tape. There's not enough trust in the educators. There's not enough trust in the schools. There's not enough trust in the children. You know, and that's why you have to have so much control over them, because you're afraid, well, if you tell them to do something and they don't do it, then you've lost it, right? Like, no, you haven't, right? And so that's been my biggest work this year, because I came from a charter school to be like, I just said for you to do that, and you're not doing. Okay, wait a minute. And that's why Jody's so amazing for me, because she's helping, like, okay, no, that's not the work that needs to happen right now. Okay, right, okay, this is good. And it's been amazing. So I'm really excited. I'm excited to start my training. I mean, I've been doing all of my prerequisites and my overview, so I understand EC, even though I have no desire to really know too much about EC. That's not my, I'm just being honest. But to start, like, really digging into the theory and understanding the content more, I'm really excited about that this coming year, and then this coming 3 years, how long it takes for me to finish my training. But it's been such a blessing to be here, and like I said, as a parent, I give myself daily high fives. Like, yes, like I can't believe I'm giving this to my kids. And if I didn't have this person here, I think after the first year, we may not have come back. But she kept saying, you're paying for it on the front end. Like, think about like this. Think about the way that your kids are gonna be when they finish this process. And it was like, yes, I can't be short-sighted, because in education, everything outside of here is short-sighted. It's what you can do within the year and what you show for the year. It's not looking like, okay, when they're 25, and this was the first meeting I had with Jody. She's like, at the age of 25, where do you want them to be? And I'm like, why 25? Like, what's, and Julie, well, that's when your prefrontal cortex is finally like, oh, all right, it's about how do I want these people to be as adults in our community. This isn't about how do I want them to function and make it in this classroom this year. This is a process. And it's so lovely to be at a school where everyone is doing the same process from beginning to end, because in my other schools, you have phenomenal teachers. They have them for a year. And then you move on to another teacher that has a different theory, a different way of doing things, and they're phenomenal, but they only have them for a year. And it becomes very fragmented. And then you have the state telling you, that you need to do it this way, so everyone changes what they do. And you never have, frequently, so you don't have a child that goes from kindergarten all the way through high school doing the same process. They started off one way, and then you're being told, oh, I need to teach it a different way, and you teach it a different way, which there's value in it, but you can't expect a 5th grader to get it when they haven't had it all those 5 years before, which is the same reason why you can't bring in a 6th grader here and expect them to get it when they haven't had it coming all the way through. And it's unfortunate for the people who don't have this as a possibility. So I feel very fortunate that I am here. Thank you, Sherry, for my job.